Your wedding timeline made easy. I'm Jodie from Sammy TP, and I wanted to walk you through putting together your wedding timeline, that foundational step to getting started. Now, if you're having a Sammy TP wedding, this is 100% something that we'll do together. We'll work through this as one of our planning meetings with you. However, you might want to have a little play and start walking through that and get an idea of how your day structure is going to work. Now, we know that for a lot of our couples, you want something really relaxed. And there'll be elements of this that you go, well, we're not having that, we're not having this, which is absolutely fine. This is really just a guide to get you started on putting that timeline together. So the start point to all of this is, what time are you actually getting married? So your ceremony start time. So if you were going for a 1 p.m. ceremony, we'd just write in 1 o'clock here. The next question to that is your ceremony on site? So are you having a church wedding, or are you getting married on site where you're having an outdoor celebrant-led ceremony? So if you're getting married on site, we'd recommend 2 hours after your ceremony is your food time. So if that was 1 o'clock, you'd be looking at food time for 3 o'clock. If you opted for a church, we always allow 3 hours, that little bit longer, simply because you're not on site, you've got to travel, you'll have photos at church as well. So we'd say 3 hours thereafter. So if your ceremony was at 1, we'd recommend 4 o'clock for seating at the table for your food time. So once you've sat for food, the next sort of time frame then is allowing you that time to be sat at the table. And there's things that's going to happen at the table. Obviously, you've got food, you've got speeches as well. So we'd say allow for 2.5 hours at the table. So this also gives you a bit of a buffer if anything's overrunning. So food service might be overrunning, or speeches are a bit longer than you're anticipated. You've got that window, you've got that time to allow that food to happen at the table. So if we're starting at 3, that puts us then meal end time at 5:30. So at that point, you've done your speeches, you've enjoyed your food, and the next sort of key step to that would be evening guests arriving. So if you have an extra guest at night, what time would that be? So evening guest arrival time we'd recommend is 3 hours after you've sat for your food. So if you're sort of sitting at 3 o'clock, your evening guests might be coming at 6, or if that was 4 o'clock, you'd be working towards 7 o'clock. And that keeps a nice flow to your day. Now, I've said 1 hour thereafter for cutting your cake or first dance. So 45 minutes to an hour is a nice time frame. And the reason I say up to an hour is that if you're having extra guests, you want to meet them, you want to greet them, you want to have a little bit of time with them before you kind of open up the party, so to speak. There was a wedding that I was managing, and it was half an hour between evening guests and first dance, and guests do not arrive at the time you say. So if you said arrive from 7, they'll be drifting in between 7 and half past. And if you're set to do your first dance at 7:30, what you're going to find is that guests are still trickling in, and you're still wanting to say hello to them, but you having your first dance opens up the evening party. So by not having it, sometimes you can be a bottleneck by the party starting, and your band will be itching to get going. So take that step back, allow yourself a little bit of time to meet and greet those evening guests, particularly if it's not just 5 evening guests extra, then you could shorten that time. But if you've got 15, 20, 30 plus extra evening guests, you're going to want that time to say hello to them and meet and greet them. And they're going to want to say hello to you, of course. So once you've had your evening guests, an hour later, you'd be working towards your cutting of the cake and first dance if you're choosing to do both of those things. And they tend to be together. So you'd cut your cake as that sort of last formality and go straight into first dance. You've got all your guests' attention, they're all around you. So it's a nice way then to get those two things done, and you open up then the dance floor and the evening party. It doesn't mean that people can't dance before then, of course they can, but this is when the band would really crank up the tunes and the sound and get everyone on that dance floor. 2 hours after your evening guests arrive, you'd be working towards your evening food. So if your evening guests are arriving at 7, you'd be working towards a 9 o'clock then for your evening food. So then having this foundational timeline allows you then at a later date, it might not be straight away, to coordinate and work with the supplies that you've got. So your band will then know that at 7 o'clock is your first dance. That's when you want them set up, sound checked, and ready to go. Your evening food service is ready for 9 o'clock, so you need them on site, powered, and ready to serve at 9. So it allows you then to feed that information back to all the suppliers that are going to be asking you that information, and you'll then start to layer in a little bit of extra detail, such as band arrives at this time. Food van arrives at that time. But as a start point, this is a really good foundational point to put in your wedding timeline together. Hope that's been helpful. I will make this a downloadable worksheet for you so you can put your own timings in, and then obviously you can share that with your suppliers as you're starting to talk to your caterers and your photographers and everyone else that's key within your day.